Hello, Mark Sutton with HurricaneTrack.com here with a Hurricane Matthew update for you. This is the very latest satellite image, series of images actually, the visible loop, and you can see that it is definitely moving more towards the northeast here, overall, north-northeast we'll call it. There is the Haitian Peninsula. First of all, good news, the hurricane warning for all of Jamaica has been discontinued, now a tropical storm warning only. Over here, though, it's just bad news all around, as very heavy rainfall is beginning to spread into the region across Hispaniola. And look over here, this uplift in the clouds here where it looks like they kind of lump up. Very heavy rainfall falling underneath those clouds across this high terrain over here in some areas. It's just not good. We've talked about this a lot, that the rainfall is going to be the biggest impact, more than likely, to life and certainly property secondary to life, obviously, across Haiti, and we certainly wish the best for people there. International aid is going to need to be swift after this, and hopefully it will be. People will not ignore this poor, and I say poor as in economically challenged, and this is a very poor area of the Western Hemisphere. So we need to respond to that quickly as possible once this passes. Next up, presumably eastern Cuba. Over here, probably on the far southeastern tip. We'll have to see if this wobbling off to the northeast continues. Does it wobble back? It's just hard to say. But anyway, northerly to north-northeast at the moment. So the updated forecast track from the National Hurricane Center now showing this cruising through the Bahamas, which is, again, just terrible. Last year we had Joaquin down here, and now here with Matthew going across this area. The economic damage will be great. And hopefully people will take this seriously and the loss of life can be zero. You just never know, right? You know, hoping this thing doesn't do much is no good. You have to actually take action. We have t-shirts that say, "Hope is not a planning tool," on the back of them. Be hurricane prepared. And we wear those when we do our public events. It's so true. People like to try to, well, I hope it doesn't. And I think they use that to sort of buy themselves time. Well, I'm hoping I won't do anything, and so to them that's the equivalent of doing something. And it doesn't work that way. You actually have to take action, minimal action, something to lessen the impacts on you. And then from the Bahamas, northwest Bahamas, the official forecast taking it up. First of all, very close to Florida, and I'm going to talk more about that in a moment. And then towards the North Carolina, South Carolina coast up here. And this is, you know, the error. You see the error cone up here. It could be over here. It could be over here. You just never know. 5 days out, the average error around 230 miles. So don't look at this and say that it is absolutely extrapolating it out, you know, coming into Pender or Onslow or Carteret County, North Carolina. We don't know that yet. So nevertheless, the region is under the major area of the cone of uncertainty, and it's coming. So we'll have to see where it's going. And that's really what everybody wants to know, right? We know it's coming. Now where's it going? So let's take a look real quick at these three paragraphs. Some of you may already know this. I just want to emphasize it. The key messages from the Hurricane Center discussion from forecaster Brennan this evening, or late afternoon, evening. First of all, Matthew likely to produce devastating impacts from storm surge, extreme winds, heavy rains, flash floods, and/or mudslides in portion of the watch and warning areas in Haiti, Cuba, and the Bahamas. So just a hodgepodge of terrible hazards headed for that area. The second area, second bullet point, direct hurricane impacts are possible in Florida later this week. Tropical storm and/or hurricane watches could be issued sometime tonight or early tomorrow for portions of the Florida Peninsula and the Florida Keys. This is how seriously everyone is taking this at the National Hurricane Center, and certainly in the state of Florida. Third bullet point, tropical storm or hurricane conditions could affect portions of Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina later this week or this weekend. And then this is really, really important right here, that even if the center of Matthew remains offshore, that these conditions would be happening. So focusing on it, the eye, is not what you need to be doing. Oh, it doesn't look like it's going to be near me. If you're talking about the eye, you may be correct. But the rest of the effects you're ignoring. And you need to realize that the rain, the storm surge, the gusty winds, all of that and this could produce some excessive rainfall in the southeast. So don't just track the eye here when we're talking about the impacts. You need to look at the bigger overall picture. All right? And then it is too soon to specify what, if any, direct impacts, right there, direct impacts Matthew might have on the remainder of the U.S. East Coast. At a minimum, very dangerous beach and boating conditions are likely. Certainly that is going to be a problem. And remember, surfers are going to really love this as the big swells come in, but we lose people in the surf more often than we lose in storm surge on your average hurricane as of late. Unfortunately, Katrina and Sandy kind of changed those statistics a little bit, but those dangerous surf conditions, don't ignore those either. There are a litany of hazards that these things throw at people, and I believe that over the years we have gotten so accustomed to categories and the wind speed and the sort of clickbait headlines of 150 mile per hour wind, Matthew headed for wherever. And, they don't talk about the fact that this is the essential weather version, a hurricane, of carpet bombing a place, right? So, you have to really understand these impacts. And that's part of what my job is to explain here. So if you have any questions, feel free to email me. I'll talk about that in a moment. Subscribe, of course, on YouTube. The response there has been incredible. All of the video and everything we do goes into our app as well. Hurricane Impact, available on the App Store and Google Play. And when this, assuming it hits land, does so, the app will really show itself in terms of its value. It's great to keep up with the informational side of things, some tracking information in it and maps and whatever, but it's really geared towards the landfall, the impact, once it hits. That's why I called it Hurricane Impact. So we may really be able to get to show off the power of this app, and I'll talk more about that when the time comes. It's not quite there yet, but we're getting close. And of course, you can follow me on Twitter at Hurricane Track. And by the way, all the Twitter stuff is right there compacted into the app, so you can just keep up with everything I'm doing right there in the app. Just a little plug for it before I sign off here. So that's it for the late afternoon, early evening hours. There will be another update late this evening, probably close to 1 a.m. Eastern Time, after I get a look at the Zero-Z GFS, which will probably have 10 million people watching it up and down the East Coast. And I think that's a good thing, people being able to be in tune and be engaged. Hey, at least you got them aware, and maybe they will take action, and we can minimize the impact on us on a personal level. That's the goal here. All right, well, that's it from me for this evening. Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com. As always, I appreciate you tuning in and listening to what I have to say, and I'll be back with more later tonight.